The words hit like a wrench dropping onto concrete. "We're restructuring the engineering division," Wade Morrison said, his eyes locked somewhere above my head. He cleared his throat like a carburetor choking on bad fuel. "The board believes fresh digital perspectives will optimize our operations moving forward." I'm Harold Peterson, but everyone calls me Hank. I'm 47 years old, and I'd just been told that 19 years of engineering experience didn't matter anymore. I sat there, adjusting my father's Craftsman wrench in my pocket, the one he'd carried at the Ford plant for 30 years. And who exactly is taking over my division? Jordan Walsh, MIT graduate, specialized in IoT integration and predictive maintenance algorithms. The floor felt like it was shifting under faulty foundation supports. The kid who started last month in systems analysis. Wade nodded like he was discussing weather patterns. 29 years old, actually. Impressive academic credentials and innovative thinking that aligns with our Industry 4.0 transformation. I laughed, a harsh sound that made him flinch like metal scraping metal. Industry 4.0, I built this division from scratch. Our client safety record is spotless for 8 years running. What exactly needs transforming? This isn't about performance, Hank. He slid a folder across his desk like passing defective parts down an assembly line. "We're transitioning you to senior technical consultant. You'll retain full benefits. We value your institutional knowledge." Institutional knowledge. The phrase tasted like machine oil. That's what they called 19 years of preventing equipment failures, designing safety protocols that actually worked, and building relationships with clients who trusted me with their workers' lives. Wade's expression stayed flat. "Corporate smooth. Your new workspace is ready. You can relocate your equipment today." The next morning, I watched Jordan settle into my office. My office. Those MIT-trained fingers tapped across my old drafting table as he arranged his belongings. A standing desk converter, 3 monitors displaying real-time sensor data, and a whiteboard covered in algorithm flowcharts. My new corner space had half the square footage and a view of the building's HVAC units instead of the plant floor below. The nameplate reading Senior Engineering Director had been replaced with Technical Consultant before I'd even arrived that morning. The division meeting started at 9 headed, my team. My people who understood that every decimal point in a stress calculation could mean the difference between workers going home safe or not. They filed into the conference room, avoiding eye contact, shoulders hunched like machinery under excessive load. Jordan stood at the head of the table where I'd run safety briefings for nearly 2 decades. "Morning, everyone." His voice carried that fresh graduate confidence. "I'm excited to lead this exceptional team into our digital future. I've been analyzing our client systems and have identified significant optimization opportunities." I listened as he stumbled through plant names, mispronouncing technical specifications. "Our work with Torino Manufacturing's legacy equipment needs immediate sensor integration." "Torino Manufacturing," I corrected quietly. "Vince Torino. 3rd-generation family business. They're particular about maintaining their grandfather's safety protocols." 20 pairs of eyes swung toward me. Jordan's smile tightened like an over-torqued bolt. "Right. Thanks for that clarification, Hank." My phone buzzed with an incoming message. The sender made my pulse steady, like a well-tuned engine. "Vince Torino, my main contact at our largest manufacturing client. Emergency consultation needed. Tuesday, 7 a.m., usual diner. Concerned about recent system changes." I slipped the phone back into my pocket, allowing myself the smallest adjustment of my wrench set as Jordan fumbled through explaining implementation timelines he clearly didn't understand. "Excuse me," Scott Barnes from our analysis team interrupted. "But doesn't this sensor array conflict with the Torino safety interlocks?" Jordan blinked like a system experiencing unexpected input. "Well, we can optimize those parameters. The Torino interlocks are hardwired for steam pressure monitoring." Neil Rodriguez from engineering added, "We've maintained that configuration for 12 years. It's literally why they haven't had a boiler incident since 1987. The room went quiet as Jordan shuffled through his digital files, finding nothing that addressed 3 decades of safety engineering. This was only the beginning. "My name is Hank Peterson, and for 19 years I'd built the industrial engineering division of a mid-sized consulting firm in Cleveland. Started as a junior draftsman and worked my way up through determination and an understanding that in manufacturing, mistakes don't just cost money, they cost lives. I knew every client's equipment like I'd assembled it myself. I remembered plant supervisors' kids' names, maintenance schedules, and the stories behind every safety modification we'd implemented. I was 47, with the first gray threading through my brown hair, earned through late nights preventing equipment failures and early mornings investigating near misses. My son Brad had grown up watching me review technical drawings at the kitchen table, postpone fishing trips for emergency plant calls, and miss Little League games when a client had a crisis. "Just until we get this system stable," I'd always promise. The systems were never stable for long. The signs of my removal had been subtle at first. CEO Wade Morrison started including Jordan in engineering reviews without explanation. My project assignments disappeared from the system. Database glitch, IT claimed. Designs I'd developed were suddenly reassigned for fresh algorithmic analysis. I should have seen the pattern. Wade had been pushing the company toward younger demographics. Digital natives understand modern manufacturing, he'd say during leadership meetings, his eyes sliding past me toward the recent graduates. Never mind that our predictive maintenance program was my initiative, developed from 15 years of watching equipment fail in predictable patterns. After that first humiliating meeting, Jordan summoned me to his office, my former office, where he'd replaced my safety awards with framed algorithm certifications. "I need your input on the Torino account," he said, stress fractures showing in his voice. "They're requesting a comprehensive system analysis for next week." I nodded, expression neutral as a precision instrument. Torino values proven methodologies. They'll expect our standard safety-first approach. "But I want to demonstrate my new predictive framework," he said, pulling up a presentation filled with sensor networks and machine learning models. I watched him scroll through it, noting 6 critical assumptions that would violate OSHA requirements and potentially override safety interlocks that had prevented accidents for decades. "This is certainly innovative," I said carefully. "You don't think it's viable?" He frowned. "It's not about my opinion. It's about what works with this particular client's infrastructure." His eyes narrowed. "Wade hired me to modernize our approach, Hank. This company needs digital transformation." The subtext was clear as a blueprint. "Your methods are obsolete." That night at home, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, a cup of coffee cooling beside me. My wife, Linda, found me there at midnight, still staring at equipment specifications. "Rough day at the plant?" she asked, using our old joke from when I'd worked factory floors. I looked up at my wife of 22 years, her face concerned. "They replaced me with a kid who thinks sensors solve everything." Linda slid into the chair beside me. "With someone who's never seen what happens when safety systems fail? Apparently experiences a liability now. I'm too established, too focused on legacy thinking." Linda squeezed my hand. "You mean too expensive and too smart for some insecure CEO?" I smiled slightly. "Maybe." "So what's your backup plan?" she asked, pointing to the notebook where I'd been sketching ideas. I looked down at the preliminary business plan I'd been developing. "I'm working on it." "Good," she said firmly, "because you taught Brad never to let anyone undervalue what you've built." The next morning, I arrived early before the day's shift. I sat at my reduced workspace, organizing technical files when Jordan rushed in, already looking overwhelmed. "Morning," he said tersely, barely acknowledging me as he headed straight for his office. Through the glass, I could see him making frantic calls, gesturing like someone trying to explain a system failure they didn't understand. At exactly 8:15, my phone lit up with a message from Neil in engineering. Emergency meeting called. Torino threatening to terminate contract after reviewing Jordan's sensor implementation plan. I tucked my phone away and continued organizing my files, the weight of my wrench set steady in my pocket. 3 minutes later, Wade himself appeared, walking fast toward Jordan's office. "Where's the Torino safety documentation?" he demanded loud enough for me to hear through the glass. I kept working quietly, pretending not to notice the crisis developing around me like pressure building in an unmonitored system. By 8:30, Wade emerged and headed straight for my corner. "Hank," he said, his business smile strained like a cable under excessive load. "We need your technical expertise on a sensitive situation." I looked up, expression mild as a properly calibrated gauge. "How can I help the Torino situation?" "There's been some confusion about our system recommendations. Confusion about safety protocols," I asked, maintaining direct eye contact. Wade's smile tightened. "Jordan introduced some efficiency improvements. There's been pushback. That's concerning. Safety systems aren't typically areas for efficiency experiments. We need you in the emergency meeting. You know Vince Torino better than anyone." I nodded, gathering my technical notebook. "Of course. Happy to provide consultation." The conference room felt like a pressure vessel about to fail when I entered. Jordan sat at the head of the table, face pale as primer coat, Wade beside him. The speakerphone connected us to Vince Torino in Cleveland. "We have Hank joining us now," Wade announced to the phone. "Hank." Vince's voice immediately warmed like a well-maintained engine finding its rhythm. "Finally, someone who understands our operation. What the hell is going on over there?" "Morning, Vince," I replied, slipping into the technical discussion I knew he valued. "How's the new apprentice program working out? And how's your son, Tony, doing with the welding certification?" "Excellent. He just passed his structural certification." Been asking about your Brad, heard he graduated engineering? I could feel Jordan staring as I navigated the relationship with the ease of 12 years of partnership, gently steering Vince back to his concerns about the proposed system changes, explaining the miscommunication and assuring him that proven safety protocols would remain unchanged. By the call's end, Vince was satisfied. This is why we trust Peterson Engineering. You understand that some things shouldn't be fixed if they're not broken. After we disconnected, Wade cleared his throat. Excellent work, Hank. This is exactly why we value you as a consultant. I smiled neutrally, happy to help maintain client relationships. As I walked out, I felt Jordan's eyes tracking me like a targeting system. What he didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this scenario for months. Because in engineering, the biggest mistake anyone can make is assuming newer always means better. Over the next week, a pattern emerged like a repeating mechanical cycle. Jordan would announce sweeping changes to our processes. Clients would resist. I would be called in to consult. Relationships would stabilize. Each time, I was careful to appear helpful but neutral, just providing technical support, I would say, when Wade thanked me for preventing another client crisis. In reality, I was documenting every failure, cataloging each safety oversight while maintaining detailed records of all client interactions. The division operated on relationships I had cultivated over nearly 2 decades. Connections that existed nowhere in the company's formal database because they lived in trust, shared experience, and mutual respect for the work. 2 weeks after my demotion, Jordan called me into his office. He'd removed my achievement awards and replaced them with a meditation corner complete with a small fountain that couldn't mask his obvious stress. I need background on the Hoffman Steel account, he said without preamble. They're refusing to work with anyone but you. I nodded. Carl Hoffman values consistency. His operation was our first major industrial client. I know that, Jordan snapped. I read the file. What I need is whatever you know that isn't documented. I considered him for a moment. Carl's a veteran. He schedules all meetings around his physical therapy appointments, Tuesdays and Fridays. He never takes calls between 1,400 and 1,600 hours. He prefers technical data presented in military-style briefings, needs time to process specifications before decisions, and values straightforward communication above all else. Jordan scribbled notes frantically. Why isn't any of this in our client management system? It's personal information shared over 15 years of building professional trust. Not everything belongs in a database. His eyes narrowed. You've been deliberately keeping information to create dependency on your experience. The accusation hung between us like a misaligned component. I maintained eye contact, voice steady. I've been building relationships the way this business requires. The information has always been available to anyone who asked the right questions. Well, I'm asking now, he said, sliding a legal pad across the desk. Write down everything about every client. Everything you know that others don't. I took the pad. Of course, happy to help with knowledge transfer. That evening, I called Vince Torino from my personal phone. They've got that college boy running your division. Vince's voice filled my kitchen. Wade's finally lost his mind completely. He's learning the business, I said, diplomatically. Learning? His sensor proposal would have overridden our steam pressure interlocks. When I explained why those exist, he asked if we could optimize around the legacy limitations. I told him those limitations prevented my grandfather from dying in a boiler explosion. I winced. I'm sorry about that misunderstanding. Don't apologize for his ignorance. What's really happening, Hank? Why would they sideline their best engineer? Fresh perspectives. Apparently, Vince snorted. Cheaper perspectives, you mean? Our contract renewal comes up next quarter. I hope they don't expect the same partnership without you running things. I made a non-committal sound. I'm still with the company as a consultant. For now, Vince said knowingly. Let me guess, they'll phase out your position once they think they've extracted everything you know. The conversation shifted to his son's progress in the apprentice program, but Vince's insight lingered. He wasn't wrong. My consulting role was clearly temporary, a convenient way to download my knowledge before discarding me completely. The next morning, I handed Jordan my client documentation, a carefully edited collection that included everything generally known within the team, but omitted the deeper personal insights that made relationships truly valuable. This is everything. Jordan flipped through the pages, frowning. The technical essentials I confirmed. The rest develops through time and relationship building. He muttered something under his breath that sounded like convenient before dismissing me. That afternoon, our team gathered for the monthly progress review. I sat in the back, observing as Jordan presented his vision for systematizing our client approach. We need standardized protocols, he announced, displaying rigid flowcharts of client interactions. Too much of our current methodology depends on individual relationships rather than scalable systems. Scott Barnes raised his hand. Won't that undermine the personalized service our clients expect? Personalization can be systematized. Jordan insisted. We'll create comprehensive client profiles and automated response protocols. I watched my team exchange glances. They understood what Jordan didn't, that our clients valued human connection and technical expertise above algorithmic efficiency. They stayed with us because we remembered their operational histories, their safety concerns, their family businesses' legacies. No database could replicate decades of earned trust. After the meeting, Scott lingered by my workstation. "This is going to fail spectacularly," he whispered. "Change can be challenging," I replied neutrally. "That's all you have to say." Scott looked incredulous. "You built this methodology. You're just going to watch him dismantle everything." I met his eyes calmly. "I'm in a consulting capacity now. Jordan has authority to implement his vision." Scott studied me. "You're planning something." I adjusted my wrench set slightly. "I'm adapting to my new role, same as everyone else." "Right?" Scott said, clearly unconvinced. "Well, when this operation starts failing, I hope you've got backup systems in place for the rest of us." As he walked away, my phone buzzed with a message from Vince Torino, "Meeting request denied. New protocols incompatible with our safety requirements." What's happening over there? I pocketed my phone without responding. The stress fractures were beginning to show. By the 1-month mark of Jordan's leadership, client complaints had doubled. 3 smaller accounts announced they were evaluating alternative consulting firms. Team morale plummeted as Jordan implemented reporting requirements that doubled everyone's administrative workload without improving technical outcomes. Wade started appearing in our department more frequently, his forced confidence wearing thin with each visit. I maintained my corner position, completing increasingly meaningless assignments while watching the division I'd built begin to fail like an overstressed component reaching its breaking point. "You need to do something," Neil cornered me in the break room. "Hoffman Steel is threatening to walk. That's a $2 million annual contract." "I'm sure Jordan has a systematic approach," I replied, stirring my coffee. Neil lowered his voice. "The team is updating resumes. Scott has an interview next week." That got my attention. Scott was brilliant, the best systems analyst I'd ever worked with. Losing him would be catastrophic. "What exactly do you expect me to do?" I asked quietly. "I don't know. Something. Anything. You always had backup plans." I looked at him steadily. "Plans take time, Neil. Sometimes you have to let systems reach their failure points naturally." He shook his head in frustration. "While you're waiting for natural failure, we're losing everything you built." As Neil walked away, Jordan appeared in the break room doorway. "I need you in my office," he said curtly. I followed him, noting the new tension in his shoulders, the slight disorganization of his usually precise workspace. "The quarterly numbers are due tomorrow," he said without preamble. "I can't reconcile the performance metrics. The reporting structure isn't functioning." "The structure you implemented 3 weeks ago?" I asked mildly. His jaw tightened. "The structure your team is clearly sabotaging. Nothing correlates. Client satisfaction metrics are failing and revenue projections are worse than projected." I took the reports he thrust at me, scanning them quickly. These weren't signs of sabotage. They were accurate reflections of systematic failure. These aren't sabotage indicators, Jordan. They're performance data showing the results of process changes. 3 clients have reduced their contracts. Carl Hoffman indicated he may not renew because your people have poisoned him against my methods. I kept my voice level. Clients respond to changes in technical approach. Relationship management matters in this industry. The relationship approach was holding us back. He slammed his hand on the desk. "We need scalable, repeatable processes that don't depend on individual connections." Wade agrees with me. "Then perhaps you should discuss the reporting structure with Wade." His eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me fail while you sit in your corner playing the wise martyr, proving you were right all along." I set the reports down carefully. "I want this division to succeed. These are my people, my clients, but I'm not in a position to direct technical strategy anymore. Then help me fix this," he demanded. "Take over the quarterly presentation, make these numbers make sense. Show me how to present this data without Wade firing me." And there it was, the leverage point I'd been waiting for. I nodded slowly. "I'll need access to all client technical files again, and I'd like Scott pulled off his current assignment to assist with the analysis." Jordan hesitated, then nodded tersely. "Fine, whatever it takes. The presentation is at 10 a.m. tomorrow." As I left his office, I allowed myself a small adjustment of my wrench set. The components were moving exactly as calculated. What Jordan didn't realize was that I wasn't playing to win back my old position. I was engineering a much more comprehensive solution. That night, I worked late in the office, long after everyone else had left. With temporarily restored access, I compiled a detailed analysis of division performance before and after Jordan's implementation. The data told a story that no amount of creative presentation could disguise. Scott joined me around midnight, coffee in hand. "So we're saving his career?" he asked. "We're providing accurate technical analysis," I replied, not looking up from my screen. The quarterly presentation unfolded exactly as I had calculated. Jordan stood before the executive team, clicking through the meticulously prepared slides Scott and I had assembled. Each chart told the story of a division in systematic failure. Client satisfaction, down 37%. New business acquisition, down 42%. Team productivity metrics, showing alarming downward trends across all categories. "As you can see," Jordan said, his voice growing smaller with each slide, "we're experiencing some transitional challenges." Wade's face transformed from mild concern to barely contained anger. "Transitional challenges? This is a complete operational failure. Jordan, what exactly is your recovery plan?" Within 17 days after the quarterly presentation disaster, Wade called me into his office. Jordan sat stiffly in one chair. Victoria from the board occupied another. "Hank, thank you for joining us." Wade began, "In light of recent events, we've been reevaluating our organizational structure." "The board feels we made an error in judgment," Victoria said directly. "Your leadership is clearly essential to the division's success. We'd like to reinstate you as Senior Engineering Director." I let the silence stretch before responding. "That's a generous offer. However, I must decline." All three stared at me in shock. "My trust in this organization's leadership has been irreparably compromised," I said calmly. "If professional value is only acknowledged during crisis situations, then perhaps my expertise would be better appreciated elsewhere." I pulled a folder from my bag. "This is my formal resignation, effective immediately. As of yesterday, I've established my own consulting firm. Victoria has already reviewed my proposal." Wade's face reddened. "This is a conflict of interest. My firm operates in advisory capacity across multiple industries. Perfectly legal. My attorney confirmed it." "Your clients will follow you," Jordan said quietly. "Not all of them. Only those who value relationship continuity over corporate efficiency metrics." I stood to leave. "Oh, and Scott Barnes and Neil Rodriguez have accepted positions with my new firm. They'll be submitting their resignations this afternoon." 3 months later, Peterson Industrial Solutions occupied the top floor of a riverside office building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Cuyahoga River. 12 former teammates had joined me, bringing their expertise in client relationships. Our client roster included 7 major accounts that had followed us, plus 11 new ones drawn by our reputation for relationship-based technical excellence. On a crisp autumn morning, I sat across from Vince Torino at our usual diner. He raised his coffee cup in a small toast. "To engineering brilliance," he said with a knowing smile. "When did you first begin planning your exit?" I sipped my coffee before answering. "The moment I noticed Wade including Jordan in executive meetings 4 months before my demotion. A good engineer always recognizes system stress patterns." "The most effective backup plan isn't about destruction," I said. "It's about construction, building something better from what others failed to value." Outside the window, I could see my new offices reflecting the morning sun. Inside, my team, my people, were building something remarkable together, something that valued relationships over rigid processes, experience over theoretical innovation, and loyalty over short-term profit optimization. The view from this side of the river was far better than anything I'd had before. If you've stayed with me through this entire story, I appreciate you taking the time. Sometimes the smartest response to workplace betrayal isn't immediate retaliation. It's strategic patience followed by building something better on your own terms. When organizations stop valuing experience and relationships, that's usually when those very qualities become your greatest competitive advantage. If this story resonated with your own workplace experiences, I'd be interested to hear about them in the comments. Have you ever had to activate your own backup plan when corporate politics threatened what you'd built? Your insights could help others navigating similar challenges.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry. I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay. Don't pity me. My heart doesn't need your mercy. I can still stand on my own. I was broken by your leaving, fell deeper than I thought I would. But pain has taught me how to heal now and survive what once I couldn't. You don't have to look back sadly, don't reach out with guilty hands. What you shattered made me stronger, now I rise where I once collapsed. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow, I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling, I'll learn to breathe again. I once begged for your affection, now I've learned my worth in scars. And the man you left in pieces found his own way through the dark. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow, I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling, I'll learn to breathe again. So keep your sympathy behind you, I don't need what's left undone. Sometimes losing who once broke you is how healing has begun. My heart doesn't need your pity, not another empty sign. I've got enough strength left within me to rebuild this life of mine. My feet are steady through the sorrow. I can stand through all the pain. You don't have to save me, darling. I'll rise alone again. I'll rise alone again.